Hello, my name is Andrew Swauger, and I am going to be telling you about the SOL of Virginia right now and talking about the Standards of Learning Assessments, which are two growth assessments that happen in the spring and the fall of every year in Virginia. So, what type of test is it, you might be asking? Well, the point of the Standards of Learning of the SOL for the Virginia public schools is to show the minimum expectations of what students would know in English, math, science, history, social science, and other subjects by the end of the school year. This test is completed through an online application for math and reading tests, which is called TestNav, and we'll get into that in a little bit. Almost all questions are multiple choice, open ended responses, constructed response essays, drag and drop or fill in the blank, or multi selected answer. The reason I actually picked this test was because I gave it to the students that I taught last year in Virginia, and I wanted to look into it a little bit more to see how the demographics affected students that were in different areas and how a lot of the test results were taken in and used by administrators and also teachers like myself last year. So, who uses it? Well, again, teachers use the growth assessments in the fall and winter to define what individual students will need help when they complete the final test of the year in the SOL in the spring. Then it is used the following year for students to notice growth and also reasonably what learning levels students should come to the new school year with. Now, of course, that can be something that is not uh, completely accurate because of the way that students react and lose information over the summer. Um, but it can be a good predictor for teachers to have coming back into the new school year, even though they may have lost a little bit of their understanding of some of their subjects. So you can see on the right side there's an example of the performance level descriptors used for all grades. This example is a third grade example showing the fail below basic, fail basic, pass proficient, and pass advance. You could see that it talks about a couple of different the different standards. You can see the category 2 here is computation and estimation, and that the student will be able to identify related multiplication and division facts. They also have the same basic, fail basic, pass proficient, and pass advance for the other major subjects like reading and some of the sciences. So why is it used? The SOLs, they assess student learning for all students in Virginia in all major subjects. The SOLs were implemented in the mid 1990s and were used as the end of grade and end of course assessments for grades 3 through 8 and secondary courses. The SOLs have taken on a foundational role within the Virginia public schools as they now count towards student graduation and teacher evaluation. We're going to talk about it a little bit more, but some of the essays that I researched for this talk about how because it is used in student graduation and teacher evaluation, it can make a lot of the students much, much more stressed out over the test, even before they should be whenever they're in the lower grades like third grade, where it should be kind of more practice for the upper grades. So the SOLs are foundationally imperative to teachers' understanding of students' progression through major subjects in their education, which means they are also required to be passed for student graduation, and because that they are integral for teacher evaluation. The teacher evaluation is largely based on the performance of their students on the SOL's assessments. So the evaluations are looking at the growth in major subjects from other grade levels in major subjects in correlation with other schools in the district and their own district to see if the student or if the teacher's instruction is effective, which is how a lot of the assessments go in Pennsylvania as well, especially the PSSAs. So, how are they reported and to whom? Well, the scores and reports of grade 3 through 8 reading and math growth assessment are given to the teachers, school administrators, and content specialists of the public schools in Virginia. They are the same people who work on the committees and review and check the validity of the tests. And actually, the reliability and validity of these tests come from the working of these committees to make sure that these tests are looked at by multiple different educators studied by many different administrators and understood by lots of different teachers and different demographics to make sure that there is no bias whenever it comes to the tests and the language that is used inside of them when they are administered. So the Virginia Department of Education asks that result questions are to be directed to the office of the superintendent of the school district by any outside sources. The results of the SOLs are different for different demographics, and they can also be found on their website. Parents and students are also given reports through the school after the SOLs are completed. The reports show test information like name, subject, and the student's scaled score, the student's performance score. So these are the types of things that are only going to be available to the parents of the student and the student themselves. The other things will be able to be found on the website for the different demographics that worked on the SOLs in Virginia. So how are the test results viewed? So these are the pass rates of all of the grades and subjects in Virginia. I pulled this right off of their website from every single secondary and primary school. This is their pass rate in each of the major subjects in Virginia. So you can see that everything's below like 75% pass rate in reading, writing, history, math, and science. So this is very useful whenever it comes down to like an individual school's understanding of what they need to work on and what subjects need to have more attention put to them. So teachers constantly use the SOLs to develop their own classroom assessments. These tests will sometimes look and be practiced to be handled just like the tasks that are asked of the students on the actual SOLs. Now, the thing is, it is an effective strategy. In our text, it actually talks about standardized tests to show those actual questions that are in the standardized tests, but modify them so they're a little bit different, because we should not be giving the students the exact questions, because we want to generalize them more so the students will be prepared for any situation or any question that comes their way. A lot of the students that I worked with in Virginia, I actually had to teach them a lot of how to click and drag when using the online version of the test. It was something that not a lot of them have been very familiar with because they were from out of the country and they were English language learners. So that was something that we had to make sure to look into a lot more before we got into the actual test. These assessments can also be made by different firms that make the assessments for teachers to then use. And I will just say, I didn't clarify on here, but I'm talking about assessments for practice, not the actual SOLs as are created by that committee that I was talking about. The accountability of the teachers and students to be taught and teach well to the standards provided by the state help create a reliability of the state-mandated test. The tests are also done in the spring and fall of each year for specific subjects, which helps see the validity of the tests and its grading throughout the grade levels. Again, this helps them understand what consequences are correct to be given to each of the students and how each of the grade levels should be scored in separation from the different demographics that they're being given to. So, who should complete the test? Well, students online take the math and reading SOLs for test grades 3 through 8, and that's just in Virginia. The SOLs were eliminated in 2014 in grade 3 history, grade 3 science, grade 5 writing. Instead, these students do a performance portfolio of different work-based assessment throughout the school year. We actually did a performance-based assessment for grade 3 science last year, where the students had to grow a plant and keep a log of it. And also in grade 3 history, they had to create some kind of different historical building, like the Great Wall of China or the Colosseum or the Parthenon, which was then taken into a performance-based assessment that we would correct for the state and send in rubrics for the state about those assessments. Now, there are some challenges with the SOLs. Standards-based education can often be very open-ended in how it's conducted in different schools. So many different approaches to education can cause assessments to be difficult. And because of these high stakes accountability that is put on the teachers for their students to perform, teachers can sometimes limit their education to just what standards are being taught. I know in working in that field last year, a lot of the year was just spent just hounding in on different standards and not really working in an inquiry-based way or reaching out to different things that we were not supposed to teach the students, but more we wanted to widen their knowledge of different things. We really had to focus on hitting those standards that were correct within math and reading. The SOLs can be biased because of a lack of high quality materials learned in some or used in teaching in some schools. That just means that some of the schools have a lot more money than the other ones, and because of that, the SOLs can be biased. There's not a well-made alignment of the standards and benchmarks between the local, state, and national standards. I'm sure the standards in Virginia, just because I have seen them, some of them, while they're not extremely different, are very different from some of the standards that we see here in Pennsylvania. So you have to take that into account whenever you're looking at nationwide, results, differentiating the idea that the PSSAs and the SOLs can be aligned together to look at students' proficiency in schools. So for summary, the SOLs are given to students in the spring and fall for growth assessment, and then all tests of each grade level are based off of the Virginia State Standards of Learning, and teachers and administration use these results to see what students need improvement in different subjects and what aids students may need throughout the school year. And again, I did not put it on here, but the SOLs are given for the spring and fall, but also there is an end of year SOL assessment to make sure that the students are passing the amount of standards and understanding the amount of standards that they should throughout each grade level. And here are my references. Thank you so much, and goodbye.